Welcome to True Talk, brought to you by Trueland Equipment. Join us as we explore cutting-edge machinery, groundbreaking technology, and inspirational stories from the field.
From the dedicated efforts of our team members to the triumphs and challenges of our farmers, True Talk brings you along every step of the way.
Whether you're a seasoned agriculturalist or simply curious about the industry, tune in to discover the fascinating intersection of technology, agriculture, and green machines.
True Talk, cultivating true conversations. Back today for round 2 of our agronomy update for the 2025 growing season.
In-season update number 2.
Yes.
Right?
Josh, take it away.
Is it Groundhog Day?
Groundhog Day.
Feels like Groundhog Day, where things kind of repeat themselves.
It's the 4th of July, Independence Day.
Ooh, it is 4th of July. Yeah, we are. Here we are. I say Groundhog Day because the hot topic of conversation in our internal updates has been the, again, vast variety of crop growth stages we have across our territory.
Oh, yeah, now that is true.
So that's why I said Groundhog Day. And I feel like we talked about this a lot last year. We're talking about it a lot this year, and I think this year's even more exacerbated. So we essentially have had some people do some late replanting of corn probably 10 days ago, and we also have tassels out. I mean, I've got corn pollinating as well.
Yeah, we were going to be making our first fungicide pass. The tentative goal was July 5th, but I think...
In corn?
Yes.
Okay.
But I think we're going to miss that mark a little bit, and I think that's probably going to get delayed until, well, there's rain in the forecast for Sunday. We'll see if we actually get that, but TBD on the amount of that, and then aiming for what would be, let's see, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, July 7th.
Okay, that's probably pretty good timing because we'll get into tar spot in a little bit because tar spot is starting to pop up in the state. Not real bad, not epidemic levels, and nothing more than just a few lesions here and there that are showing up. But it's time to start thinking about incorporating that into your fungicide plans.
It's always time to think about tar spot.
Right.
Anymore.
But no, we have my growth stage, best guess at growth stage was probably we have corn at V4 somewhere in our territory all the way up to VT. And the corn that was tasseling in my territory was planted early. It was a 104-day hybrid. It is currently pollinating. Beautiful.
104.
104. Yeah, it's early. Pretty early for early planted, but they want to get it out. It'll be fine. It'll be good corn. But then we have corn that's not even determining its ear size yet. So our territory, the point of emphasis at this point, and probably the rest of the season is going to be, we're going to have a long harvest across our company this year.
Yeah, I was working on some data uploads for, so we can go back and do variety locator files, which, reminder to anybody who has not done that, make sure you are bringing in your planting maps from your displays if you do not use wireless data transfer. But anyways, I was helping some customers with that and said the first pass was April 12th and then the second pass was June 23rd.
Second pass of what?
Soybeans replant.
Oh my goodness.
I was like, that's
double crop.
That's going to be, basically.
Yeah, we're going to have a lot of quote unquote double crops, way more than we truly have.
Accidental double crop.
Yeah, we
mixed
joke.
in.
So it's going to be it's a long drawn out season again. I know again we said that a lot last year, but it's even, I don't want to say worse because it's not always a bad thing, but it's even more so exacerbated this year that we just have we have corn that went in April 20th and corn that went in, honestly, probably mid-June. So that's a month and a half at least of spread of planting dates, and you shift that over to harvest. There's going to be a very, very long and drawn out harvest, especially if we have any rain events or weather events that keep us out of the field. Not even including that. So.
And I feel like last year you mentioned that it was a little bit drawn out, not nearly as much as what we have this year. We had a very dry winter, very mild winter, and a very mild fall. So fall was relatively quick, about as quick as fall can be.
Right.
But I think that this year, I mean, hopefully we don't have 2 dry winters. That caused some headaches for us.
Yeah,
so.
We came into spring really dry. Now we had some rain again that was very welcome. But you know what? I can already see, and it's so weird. That's another thing that's just all over the place has been the weather. And I guess we can get into that too. But we've talked about the cold spells we had after the first planting season. One thing we didn't have is we didn't have that frost anytime after the planting window opened that I recall. So that was a little bit of a surprise.
I've heard of a couple people, but I mean, it's a couple people on a couple 100 acres where they got after it early, but I haven't heard too much of the frost-like topic.
Yeah, not at all. And then like I said, we had that cold spell in kind of late May and some cool nights and a lot of cloudy weather. Then we jumped into 7 or 10 days of 95 degrees and hot, straight up to the other extreme.
With 99% humidity.
Oh, man, that was brutal. And now we're back down to really pleasant weather, which the crops love, right? Sunny and 80.
Me too.
So, they're like people. That's what I said. They're like people. They like sunny and 78, sunny and 80. So we've come back to some normalcy and really good growing conditions. Everything that's everything's in the ground now, obviously. It's all growing well. And we had a little bit of stress showing up with that heat, but that's okay. That corn leaves roll, right? That's just a defense mechanism, and we're okay seeing that. Some varieties just shut themselves down a little bit quicker. But
and being at that stage too, I feel like they're extra defensive. They don't have as much residual.
Right.
The roots haven't really found their depth to be able to maintain those hot temperatures and long sunny days, especially when we're not seeing that stomata close in the evening, overnight.
Also at that V7 stage, when you're determining that ear size or ears rows around, I mean, that plant's going to protect itself. So it's not always a bad thing. But, back to that planting date thing, the only thing we're kind of looking at right now, obviously, is going to be, again, I think last year we said once the sprayers started going, they never stopped. And this year, the spring, the time for spraying is elongated across our territory, right, with the crop stages. And then obviously the harvest will be as well. But the other thing we're looking at is like I said, I've always been hopeful that the guys that were planting corn on into June were back in that maturity off, to that 100-day mark or even a little earlier, just because we start worrying about looking at growing degree days and where that frost is going to fall. Mm-hmm. And, we want to get that corn to black layer before that first frost comes. And typically that frost is end of October on average, but there's obviously some outliers that it can come a little early. So we're going to cross our fingers that everything gets to black layer, right, before that frost comes. And, again, we've got good weather now. We got sunshine, we got warmth. We don't have to have 95 or 100 degree temperatures to get the growing degree days. 80 and sunny is fantastic.
No, we were gone last weekend, and man, I should have spray painted some corn and done that good old self-research study. But just the difference from being out of town for one weekend and seeing how much that the corn grew, it was night and day difference.
Yeah, grows a lot, especially when we got through to that.
Yes, exactly. I mean, there was a week there of just it being completely stagnant.
Yep. Not
doing anything, just hanging out because it was too hot.
So, talked a little bit about weather already. I'm going to go back into that. I mean, I guess jump into the soybeans real quick. I mean,
we should just call ourselves meteorologists.
Yeah, soybeans again. They had kind of a rough go of it with some herbicide stress early on. We talked about that. Again, that's just that cloudy, cool weather conditions, and the soybean residuals can be pretty tough sometimes, right? I mean, they can set soybeans back under normal conditions. You throw in the cloudy, the cool.
Yeah.
It's a little bit worse, but we got to have them, right, for the water hemp control and some things like that. So
yeah. The one thing I didn't see a lot of was the dual damage. But yeah, man, there was a lot of stuff that just dinged the heck out of some beans. Yeah, and it didn't look pretty, but I think everything so far, has.
They're perking up, right?
Yeah.
They're perking up. That some of that stress lasted a little bit longer than maybe we had hoped, but they're perking up. Things are looking good. They're starting to flower in some places, so we're hitting that R1 fairly early, but that's a very long phase, right? We're going to put a lot more leaves on while the flowers are there, but I always tell people once the flowers start coming on, we got to be real careful with our herbicides, right? We don't want to zing them up. We want to let those things pollinate and start putting pods on as over as long a period as possible. So so that's turnaround looking good. Weather's still been incredibly erratic. Moisture especially, it's weird. Where I sit, we talked about that I think last time as well. Where I sit, we've had some timely rains, nothing crazy, but all of a sudden I'm already seeing the outline of my septic tank in my yard.
Yeah.
So you know what that means.
Yeah.
That we're dry where I'm at. And then we go 30 minutes east.
Your septic tank is your judge.
Yeah.
I've heard you say that
Yeah.
Yeah,
I was just
every
mowing.
summer that
I was mowing 2 nights ago. I was like, oh my goodness, I can already see the septic tank. We're dry.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was talking to a buddy yesterday, a farmer, and he said, whenever I see the old sidewalk show up, there's an old, where a sidewalk used to be in the yard, he knows he's in trouble. He's not seen it yet, but he's had a lot of rain, got a lot of wet holes.
See, and I think it's super weird because we've had some really big rains, like over 1.5 inches in 24-hour rains, and a couple of those. And even still, I go out and water my garden, and I've seen irrigators running, and we could still use a little bit more.
Well, you're up a little more sandy,
yes.
river type. Where you live, even though there's not a river right in your back. Well, there's one pretty close.
In my front yard.
Yeah, sorry. I guess I was thinking all around that area. It's almost like
it's a little sandy.
It's high up river bottom almost.
Yeah,
in a way.
It's not river bottom. It's like river
top. Sandy. And so those rains and irrigation systems come in handy. You guys can control that drainage pretty well. And we got a lot going on across our territory. A lot of variety. We've definitely had again some wet holes in some areas that have honestly been filled up with a vengeance. I've got written on my notes. I got the word vengeance.
With a vengeance.
I was driving over towards the lake over the weekend, and man, there was still some water standing in some pretty big wet holes, which again, we can drive in areas and not see them, and drive in areas where we can see them. The rains, those heavy downpours were just so sporadic. And
well, there's an area not too far from you that got 7.5 inches of rain in like 24 hours, 12 hours.
Yeah. I got another guy that got
a very little pocket, but
had his corn looking real nice. And then a 4-inch rain came through and filled his wet holes, and it was fine. And then another week later, another 4 inches came through at the same time. So it's about everything. So we'll take, try to see the best, take what we can get. We got some good stuff out there, that's for sure. And somebody's going to hit a window somewhere, right? With as far spread out as we are.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
we should play a game between all of our stores.
Yeah. Yeah. Who hit the window?
Yep.
Who's the lucky one? So
yep.
We'll
but
see.
Also, the rains have been so sporadic that we haven't had big belts come through. I think there's been one big band that pretty much soaked our entire territory. Yeah. Other than that,
very sporadic.
It's been very spotty.
The wheat harvest is going on, and we'll maybe hit on that in a little bit. But the reality is, when it's just so funny that it was time to run wheat, and then all of a sudden one day all these little pickle showers came through. It held about everybody in our whole territory off that day. These tiny little pickle showers, but just enough to keep things just wet enough. But so I've got the wet holes filled up. I did do a little tidbit on the internal side. Whenever we have some heavy rainfalls in areas, the universities are good about putting out articles about wet holes and how to manage them and what to expect. The reality is there's some where we just have total plant loss right when they get flooded, and they stay flooded for several days, and some where we've stressed the plant to where they're going to be down to about 50% yield capability when when they've sat underwater for a couple of days and the roots have lost oxygen, and you got the compaction caused by the rain and in the water that's gathered there, and other things, and some nutrient loss. So definitely going to be aware that we're going to kind of take a hit in some spots, in some wet holes, and it's nothing new, right? Nothing new at all. So, but definitely the wet holes showed their faces this year, and we will move on. So again, wheat harvest is underway as we record this. What are you hearing?
Yeah.
Thoughts? Yields are decent from what I hear.
I feel like, our territory, Josh and I, probably more so you than me, we don't have much wheat at all. So people will put out 80, 100 acres, but it's nothing. Nothing to write home about. So wheat harvest is underway. It'll be starting today, ending tomorrow. Wheat
used to be the evil crop you had to put out when you had livestock, right? And you had to have a place to go with your manure. Yeah. But it's become a little more of a cash crop. So there are guys that grow it as part of the rotation that even don't have livestock, and it's been a decent moneymaker for them. So.
Well, and this year I don't think the double crop has potential for being all that bad.
No. Now we were off. We sat here and predicted.
Last week.
Yeah, which I think honestly we probably would have been on if I think the cool spell we had late May probably threw us off maybe a little more than what we thought.
I think we predicted that after that cool spell.
Yeah, maybe.
But we're not going to talk about that.
But no, we're going. I mean, it's July 3rd, and honestly, the wheat harvest is going to wrap up
July 5th.
Yeah, I would think so. I think my biggest wheat customer is planning on being done by the 5th, and he's rolling right along. So I've got a couple guys that are done, and got them done, knocked out yesterday, which would have been July 2nd. And yields were decent. Probably not the highest yields we've had around here, but decent. And I don't think people are too terribly disappointed. And
Stuff doesn't look too bad. I think that from what I've seen, and this might be different for others because I haven't done much scouting for wheat fields across our territory, but from what I've seen, it's either pretty dang good or pretty dang bad.
I think that if you got your wheat planted in a timely manner last fall and it tillered like it should have, you're probably pretty happy with your wheat. I think if you got it planted a little late, your expectations were tempered a little bit for good reason.
See, and I said earlier we had such a dry winter.
Right.
There was a point in there where if you planted it on that later side, you were missing some moisture that you needed. So
right. Yeah.
It needed. So
and you came into winter a little behind, so it's fine. Like I said, everybody kind of knows, and we kind of know what to expect with wheat. So wheat's good. Got to be wrapped up. I'm with you. If you're going to plant double crop beans, please get them out ASAP. ASAP. Preferably, man, I'm a big fan of just no-tilling them into that stubble. I know some people just don't do that, but
yeah,
I would want to conserve that moisture if I could.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It depends on what you're doing with your wheat, too. I mean, some guys, heck, I've heard a lot of people talk about not even baling it. It's not even worth it. So,
well, because there's not enough straw, or because they realize that there's a lot of value in leaving that straw in the field.
Maybe both.
Yeah. There's definitely so there's guys always ask, hey, what's the nutrient value of my straw? Because I want to have it baled and want to recover it. And I said that's X amount of dollars, whatever. I mean, there's some nutrients in there, right? We know there's potash in there because the stem potash lives in the stems, and there's some nitrogen in there. And but I always tell people you about double your value because of the organic material.
Yeah,
it's got a lot of value. And
yeah,
I think people have noticed that when they've left the organic material, they feel like there's been a better response in the future crops. Just because of having that organic material. So, and
that's just something that we're all across our territory overall could be better.
Right.
I mean, that's just a fact of the geography that we cover.
Yeah, organic matter is a very, very valuable thing to have. So
people spend a lot of money trying to simulate that.
Yep. So I'm good when they leave it. It makes me smile when they leave it too, and can be a little of a pain planting the double crops through it sometimes, but there's definitely value there. But let's get those double crops in the ground, try to maximize as much as we can. I think ideally we were planting them in June, but we're going to be planting them the first week of July, and that's fine as well. So hoping for get those in and get those growing and have some good weather for those to amount to something at harvest time. So what else on your mind?
Do we talk about soybean fungicide?
Yeah, I think we talked about that last week, did we not? A little bit. I mean, I'm a fan, obviously.
Last week.
Or last update, I should say.
People have actually started. So
yeah. Yep.
Yeah, we talked about corn fungicide. We're about there. If we haven't already gotten there, which
there's some fields.
Again, some variability.
Right.
Minimal variability.
I think you've got some fungicide going on in places. I think some of the guys I've talked to, they're planning for about 10 days out, maybe to feel like they'll be starting getting the fungicide on those beans. So
yeah. So I took a call this morning with somebody who was a customer that was heavily focused on white mold, given the heavy dews that we've been receiving, the excess moisture that came down in a very quick matter after we already reached, canopy closure.
Yep.
So lots of conducive environments for stagnant air to get stuck down in there.
Yep.
Perfect formulation for white mold to arise. And so I think that's heavy on at least their minds. So they're trying to hit that timely window on the earlier side, make sure to get it done.
So you're again, white mold's fresh on the brain because it was bad last year. It was really bad last year. And it was bad last year because, again, we had that similar situation you're talking about. Yeah. Some dews. We had very little air movement last year, which is kind of rarity.
And we've had a windy
very windy spring.
Yes. Which it works in our favor, obviously.
Right.
But again, I think that it depends on how you plant your rows too.
Yeah, which direction, if they're narrow, wide.
But we've had a lot of south winds.
Right. Oh, really a lot of, yeah.
Like an odd amount.
Yeah, I agree. And So if you're planting north-south, I mean, actually it's going to help you out a little bit. This has been one of the windier springs we've had on record versus last year was probably one of the most non-windy growing seasons that I can ever remember. And
we had stuff get like sandblasted off within our territory.
Yeah, so did we.
Yeah, such heavy. Well, yeah, not in my area, but across Trulian territory.
Some replant beans because of the wind just tore them up. And it's just so weird to think about that and to have seen pictures of that. It was almost like a massive hailstorm went through and completely decimated them. But no, I agree. And I think
we live in Kansas.
I think when people have white mold, it's on the brain. And even though
it's scary.
Rotated out of those fields that were in white mold last year, it's something that stays in the soil. So if a field's got a history, then they're going to want to treat. But you're talking about some products that are fairly new on the market where guys are actually treating. We're not talking your standard fungicides. These are products that actually add-ons that can help counteract white mold. And I think there's going to be a little more of a push and a presence for some of those products. But so you're talking about some guys that are dabbling in some of those products, getting them on.
Yeah. I think and again, I think that you hit the nail on the head. You know, obviously once you see a heavy presence, I mean, and I don't know what the severity of their white mold situation was, but it was obviously there for them to tack something else on in their fungicide tank mix.
Right.
But I think that the people who are going to be focusing on that are the people who had severe levels multiple years ago.
Yeah.
So, because that 7 year mark, everybody has that in their mind that, that's our timeline for white mold. And
I think it's even longer than that. I've had guys that have gone to corn for 7 years to get cleaned up, and
corn for 7 years. See, you're down in hog country, so you can do that. But
try to break that cycle, and guess what?
Not many other people can afford to go to corn on corn for 7 years.
But I think that white mold came right back again. So, but no, good point to bring that up. So we're going to manage that in history, and obviously we know it's favors the darker soils, right? The higher organic soils, the more moist soils, and it's an Uggy, man. It can knock the yield back pretty good.
Yeah,
for sure. So we want to stay on top of that. And the redheaded stepchild tar spot is already popping up in the news, in the newsletters, in the.
It's not the redheaded stepchild. It's like the evil stepsister.
Evil stepchild. It's the one that nobody always the evil elephant in the room. And
is that what it like Cinderella's evil sisters? Yeah.
So we're watching Twitter. You know, read Twitter and some of the universities that have put out that they're starting to track it and starting to see it, and they're starting to post counties that it's present. And it's here. It always starts for us in north to northwest Indiana. That's where it always starts at and kind of works its way down. But it's already shown up in a county below us, which we're in north central Indiana. And last I've heard, there's a few more counties that have popped up on the map. So the good news is where it's showing up, they're just finding a little lesion here or there. They're not finding epidemic levels by any means, but it's going to the heat that we had was kind of that we didn't like. It's actually good to help tar spot stay suppressed, right? It doesn't like real hot.
Yeah.
So now that we're back to
does like the wind though, so
well, and now that we're back to more relaxing and more ideal conditions, what's good for the plant is good for the tar spot, unfortunately. So it's time to start watching, right?
Yep.
Which watching tar spot means watch your resources, watch where it's at relative to you, and then start scouting your fields. If your neighbors have it, if you don't have it, you're going to have it.
So if your neighbors have it, you have it.
Yeah, so start looking, listen to your agronomist, check your local universities.
Listen to Josh.
Tar spot trackers. There's some pretty good resources out there. So I'd be watching and just
and
know.
Twitter. Twitter is a
it's
fantastic resource. Yep. I know Purdue has a great publication. They update their Twitter frequently about that.
You follow Darcy Tulenko, then you're going to get that tar spot update periodically and where they're finding it. So she does a great job. So we're going to watch it. I love the ability to shift our corn fungicide applications around just a little bit based on tar spot potential. And I think that we can
so have you heard the dual tank, the See and Spray Ultimate story from this?
Have not.
So apparently they are using the drone imagery.
Okay.
And wherever they have identified even a small lesion or small lesions, they have basically created an on-off script.
Nice.
And they're going in and putting a fungicide in one tank, and they're putting some nitrogen in the other. And they've done NDVI where they need nitrogen.
Oh, nice.
And they've done an on-off prescription basically for that, and then an on-off for tar spot identification, and that's how they're using their dual tank. I just thought that was super creative.
Are they putting drops on? I take it some kind of drop on to shoot nitrogen down in the...
Yeah, I didn't ask about all of that, but
that's great.
I would assume.
Putting technology to use.
Yeah.
Right? Scripting, we don't do a lot of scripting in sprayer, but that's just one example where we can go in and do that and do it with ease and go.
With the deer acquisition, the recent deer acquisition, I feel like that's going to become a more prevalent thing, something we're going to have a lot more access to. So that'll just be interesting to see how some of those machines are utilized in a rather than a dual product. I mean, while this is still dual product, dual purpose.
Yeah.
I mean, we're eliminating a pass, and obviously lots more accuracy there than you have with fungicide over the top with a plane.
So bringing up the ultimate again is just because it's got the dual tank system. That's why. Yeah. And we can script out.
Yep. It actually has nothing to do with the See and Spray technology. Right. That is completely turned off. They are just running it as a dual product system.
Yep. So that brings up the thought of spider mites then too, I guess. I didn't have that written down, but had someone ask about it.
Better spider mites than slugs.
Yeah. Slugs are fascinating. I love talking about slugs.
I hate slugs.
Spider mites, starting to see a little bit potential, on the edge of fields. So I always tell customers, hey, agronomy customers, if you're worried about spider mites, if we're in a hot and dry spell, number one, stop mowing your roadsides. Yeah. Why? Because they're hanging out in your
You're just
side
pushing
ditch.
them into your field.
Yeah, you're just pushing them in. You're taking away all that green, lush vegetation, so they're going to move into the field, right? So stop mowing roadsides. Sometimes that takes a conversation with a landlord saying, hey, I'm going to stop mowing roadsides just for this reason. And but the other thing, obviously, again, we've got areas, I just told you, that I can see my septic tank, which means we're dry, right? And we know they like the hot and dry conditions. And so they're out there. They're always going to be out there. If you see fields, edges of fields starting to yellow and it's starting to move in, time to at least think about it. If they don't outgrow higher moisture situations very well. So we start getting timely rains, you're pretty much going to outgrow the damage, and they don't like that, right? They propagate well in hot, dry conditions. So
I mean, they're so tiny, they just probably float away.
Right. But they're out there, and that heat spell probably magnified them a little bit. So my rule of thumb with spider mites is if you see enough damage on your ends and it's starting to bother you, then go out and spray. And we always spray one pass inside the damage, right? Because they've always moved away from the yellow areas into the lusher green areas. So you got to spray out beyond the damaged areas a little bit. So again, rule of thumb, if you're in a hot and dry area, stop mowing roadsides for a while. Don't push the spider mites into your field any more than they're going to move into your field. Let them work in your side ditch.
Which coincidentally, because everybody's caught up on their spraying, unlike last year, I've seen a lot of people out mowing roadsides.
Roadsides have been mowed like yards everywhere.
You can always tell that the farmers are working on their farmers' stands like the week before 4th of July, because that's when a lot of the bat wings go out.
Roadsides look like a lush lawn in places. So
So
anyway,
might look better than my yacht.
Watch for those. Watch for tar spot, insects wise. I mean, I guess, we had a mild winter, which honestly, mild versus tough winters don't really matter with insects. That's just kind of a little misnomer there, because once they go into their hibernation, it's called dipause, they can withstand a really, really hard winter. What gets insects is when they come out of their dipause and they're ready to go. And then we have that other hard freeze that comes in and can kill some off, right? Once they come out of their hibernation, and then we have a freeze. Well,
Which we didn't really have.
We just said we never really had that second frost. So I've been a little leery of some insect numbers just because of that fact that we didn't have that second frost or that killing frost after the first warm up. But at the same time, I'm seeing some active jat beetles. We got through in most areas where the corn's tall. There's again, corn of variety stages, but I feel like the soil insects weren't a real big hamper on us by any means. So
I have seen some bean beetles, but that's about the time of the year. I mean, it's time for them to be moving in. That's the thresholds for those. I mean,
it takes a lot of damage.
Exactly. Yeah. They're very high. So it's not something that's unexpected. We see that every single year. Obviously, just something to keep an eye on when you are doing your inevitable scouting.
That's right. Bean leaf beetles, and then we're going to watch jat beetles and Japanese beetles and corn rootworm beetles in corn, right, as we're starting to head towards pollination. So just keep an eye on.
Yeah, and as those silks come out, we're going to start talking about, I mean, that is our goal for fungicide. So, and that's going to be happening pretty quick. We're going to see some silks start to poke through a couple days after that tassel emerges. So then we're going to start talking about protecting that until we finish off with harvest and reaching black layer before that frost.
That's right. So we're watching some of our insects and soybeans and corn, particularly those that affect pollination, and we're going to kind of keep an eye out for tar spot as we move forward. So our next update's going to be
Our next update will be about tassels and pollination and
tar spot.
No.
You don't think so? We're gonna be on the positive. We're gonna have a positive outlook.
I just want to have a podcast where we don't talk about tar spot.
Yeah. We'll talk about pollination. We'll talk about soybean condition and hopefully have a good report for you next time. Right?
This was a good report.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else?
I don't think so. Keep scouting. Keep calling us and upload your planting data.
Yeah, upload your planting data. That's a good point. Anybody that doesn't have a connected machine, get your planting data updated because we don't want anything to happen to that, and we got to start thinking about.
We're going to get busy with spraying. We're going to get busy with fungicide. We're going to get busy with scouting. So do it right now.
That's right. If you need help with that, please give your local Integrated Solutions CST a call, and we will talk to you in another month.
Until next time.
Talk to you next time.